If you're running meta ads and you do not have Conversions API set up, you are killing your potential performance. Here's why. Either your Conversions API is set up incorrectly and you don't know how to fix it, your Conversions API is set up incorrectly and you don't even know that it's set up incorrectly, or you don't even have Conversions API set up at all. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly what it is, exactly how to set it up, and exactly how to test it to make sure that you actually set it up correctly. This is crucial to ensure proper tracking and data is being sent back to Meta. At the end of the day, we're running ads to put more dollars into our pocket, so why not increase the likelihood of that actually happening? My name's Ronan, and my partner and I run a full suite agency for high ticket offers. The reason I'm making this video is because a lot of the other videos I found regarding Conversions API setup with Gohighlevel were either too complex because they're trying to sell you on the setup of it, they don't actually know what they're talking about, or the third reason is they do walk you through it, but they don't actually teach you what you're doing and why you're doing it. So again, this is tailored towards high ticket offers and lead gen. If you're looking to set this up for e-com or a lower ticket offer, maybe you're running ads to a community, this will work. The same principles stand. It's not going to be the focus of this video. Now, before we actually dive into the setup, I do want to go over what it actually is, so you can actually understand what you're doing and why you're clicking each button and what you're setting up, because a lot of the time people do these kind of setups and they don't actually learn, they don't understand behind it. So when something breaks or something doesn't go correctly or you have a small bug or there's an issue, you're not going to know how to fix it, and you're going to have to come back to a video like this every single time and be stuck in this loop. But taking time to understand it on a deeper level will really help you in the long run. Now, if you don't care for that, so be it. There's a timestamp below where you can skip to the actual setup. So really quickly, what is Conversions API and how does it relate to the Pixel? When Apple released iOS 14, it inhibited a lot of the tracking they used to be doing because of cookies, and people could opt out from being tracked on their device. This obviously reduces the amount of data that the Pixel can collect on its own and also the quality of the data. So to combat that, Meta came out with Conversions API, which lets you track data directly from your server. So it doesn't rely on browser cookies or the user's device to share that information with us. Now here's an analogy I like to use so you can visualize it as well as understand it. So pretend you are a store owner. You own a retail store and you want to send information back to Meta when someone makes a purchase. So you go ahead and you hire this guy called the Pixel. You say, hey, I need you to track when people are making purchases and as much information you can tell me about those people. Now, the only caveat here is that this person has to stand across the street and look through the window of your retail store to track the people that are making purchases. Now, obviously, they'll make assumptions on when people make purchases based on, whether they walk up to the counter, whether they see a card in their hand, or whether they see something being exchanged at the counter and the cashier moves. Now, most of the time, about 60 or 70%, they will make the correct assumption of whether someone made a purchase. But the other times, maybe someone came into the store, bought something, and went out the back door. Or maybe someone went up to the counter and they saw their card in their hand, but they were just making an exchange or a return. Or maybe a car drove in front of the road and it stopped the person from actually seeing that conversion happen. This is exactly what the Pixel is. So now, Conversions API is like putting someone right next to the cashier that has eyes on every interaction that happens inside of the store. So now this person sees the exact transaction that happened, they see the cash being exchanged for a product or service, and they can also infer more about the actual person making the purchase. So they can see, they can hear in on the conversation, understand the kind of demographics that are actually purchasing at that store. They do not care how a person entered or exited the store. All they care about is accounting for the transactions that actually happened. This is exactly what Conversions API is. Now, one other important thing about Conversions API is called deduplication. We have the Pixel and Conversions API both sending server-side events to Meta. Now, this means if the Pixel says, hey, we just got a purchase, and the person inside the store says, no, that was actually an exchange, it'll be overruled and it'll only count as one transaction, which is exactly what we want. Same thing if the outside observer misses a transaction completely, this person inside the store will be like, hey, no, we actually did get a transaction, and therefore it will be counted as well. Now, the important thing about deduplication is that sometimes things are miscounted. Oftentimes when you have a header tracking code on your thank you page or something that's telling the Pixel when an event happened, numbers can be inflated. If people reload the page, people revisit the page on the same device, things like that, it's going to count more times than once for these actions to happen. And Conversions API will have different numbers in the Pixel, which will just confuse the whole system. So we want to make sure that if they're both sending events, they're both sending the same event, and then it only gets sent as one event. So if things are being double counted, so you have two events that come through with different event IPs, and they both think a conversion happened, it's going to count it twice, even though it was one conversion, which is going to inflate your numbers, throw off all your data, throw off Meta's tracking, and ultimately it would just ruin the whole point of even setting this up in the first place. So super important that we get this figured out. Most common reasons for this would be event ID mismatch, the Pixel firing multiple conversions for just one conversion, or multiple events sending up from different software. If you have N8N workflows, Zapier workflows, Gohighlevel, anything. If you have a bunch of stuff that's overcomplicating the whole process, you're going to have so many more events being sent. Now, thankfully, Gohighlevel actually takes care of deduplication for you under a few conditions, which I'll go over in the setup. All right, so let's jump right into the setup. The only two tabs you'll need open are Gohighlevel and your Meta Business settings, Meta Business Suite, so business.facebook.com. Once you're in there, Go over to ad accounts, make sure you have the correct ad account created that you want to use, and the assets are assigned to you. This is super important. Make sure your name is actually under people, or else this won't show up when you're creating your data set. So now under accounts, go to data sources and data sets and pixels, and go ahead and create a new one. Now it says choose the ad accounts you want to connect to this data set. Because this is a new portfolio, it's going to show up the correct ad account here. But if you do not see a list of ad accounts here, or you don't see the ad account that you want to use, there's going to be two reasons for that. One, you didn't give yourself permission in the ad account to use that ad account, or two, it's just a meta bug. And then make sure you don't go to Events Manager right away, X out of this. And like I said, if you didn't see your ad account there where it says selected, it's fine. Just click the X and then go over to connected assets and click add ad account. And then it'll show up there for sure if you have given yourself access to it. And then lastly, you're going to want to assign yourself and anyone else that needs access to this data set under people. This is super important. Don't forget this. So just select that, then select full control and then assign. After that, just click done. And now you can head over to Events Manager. Great. So now that we're in Events Manager, we actually want to set up the Pixel and then Conversions API. We do the Pixel first and then Conversions API second. So go down here to set up Pixel, install code manually. And then you're going to want to copy this code right here and then click continue. So you're going to want to turn on automatic advanced matching because it automatically sends hashed customer identifiers to Meta. So this is just super good to have for strength in the conversion event. Obviously, we're setting up Conversions API to do a lot of this heavy lifting for us, but if we could have the Pixel doing it as well, it's just all the much better. Better event matching, better attribution, overall just better events being sent back to Meta. So always make sure you turn this on and then click continue. That's literally all it is for the Pixel. So just go to Pixel Overview. You should still have that Pixel code copy. So go over to Gohighlevel, go to Sites, and then click on your funnel, click on Funnel Settings, and then here is the head tracking code. So once you paste it here, there is head tracking code, and then go ahead and paste it in the head tracking code. Now there is options to put header tracking on each of the funnel pages, but if you're planning on using this Pixel code throughout the whole funnel, this just adds it to every page for you, so you don't need to do that again, and then make sure you click save. Great, easy enough. Your Pixel's all set up now. Head back to Events Manager, and now we're gonna click Conversions API. Now, if for some reason this button here doesn't show up, you don't see Conversions API, and it looks like an event has gone through, it's probably because the Pixel already fired on your website, either you or someone else opened up your browser or the domain and it triggered it. If that's the case, you can just create a new data set, same steps, to make sure nothing fires on that Pixel, or you just don't have domain set up. If not, I'll show you later on how to actually set up Conversions API from the settings if that doesn't show up there. Great, so now you're gonna wanna click on Set up Conversions API. And then always click set up manually unless you are doing ecom and there's like a Shopify thing that shows up here, but set up manually. Conversions API and MetaPixel always, this is what I mentioned before with deduplication and stuff like that, just getting more sources of data so we can just get more and more quality data. And then go ahead and click Start CAPI Setup, and then just click Finish. And then I would recommend, if this is your first time setting up Conversion API, just have a brief read through everything it tells you here. It gives you a lot of information from Meta's side of what this is actually doing, more in depth than I went before. So yeah, like I said, if this is your first time setting up Conversions API, don't be lazy, have a read through this so you can actually understand what you're doing. Now, in this page, select event. Now we're gonna wanna select the events that we wanna track with Meta. These are called standard events because they're events that Meta already recognizes within their native platform. And you want to click on e-commerce and retail and change it to other business category. This will actually allow you to be able to see the lead and schedule button. So if you don't see them there, just make sure you're under other business category. Click continue. So here is where you select the event ID. Now this is what I mentioned previously in deduplication. This is making sure that Conversions API is sending the exact same event ID as the Pixel would be, so it can see two events come through and it knows it's the same one and only send one event back to Meta. And then here for custom information parameters, this is all the information that you're going to be sending back to Meta. So best practice is just to select everything. You know, if it's going to give us the information, why not use it to help Meta optimize better for our campaigns? Now, super important, this is set up for lead, but make sure you go up and set this up for schedule as well. Great, now click continue. Review setup, like I said before, make sure it just doesn't say lead or just schedule, make sure both are there. And then click continue. If you want, again, like I said, if you want to really learn what's being implemented and what you actually just set up, or you have a developer that's going to be setting this up for you, if you have, you know, a custom CRM or something along those lines, you can send them instructions on how to take the setup from here, but you don't need to. But I do encourage you to walk through this and actually learn more about what you're setting up. Great, so now we're going to be creating the access token, which is essentially like a webhook between Meta and Gohighlevel. So generating the access token. Go here and set up with Quality API. Always do this. If you don't set it up with Quality API, it just limits the tracking that you're able to do. So go ahead and click Generate Access Token, and then you should see your data set here. Now, if you don't see your data set here, the only reasons why this would occur is there's a bug. So in that case, refresh your browser, refresh Meta, or you didn't give yourself access to the data set. So go back and give yourself access to that and then you'll be able to see it here. Now, the third only and rare reason why it wouldn't show up here is because sometimes it needs a pixel event to be triggered on it. That's totally fine. If you go and just open up your browser where you installed the pixel code on Gohighlevel, open that up, let an event fire, refresh Events Manager, and you should be able to see your data set here. Now that you've generated the access token, go ahead and copy that to your clipboard. Now we're gonna head over to Gohighlevel while we have this copied so we can just paste it and get it down. So go into Gohighlevel, go to automation. We're gonna be setting up two events, one for lead and one for schedule. So when a new contact opts in, Gohighlevel will be able to tell Meta that, hey, this is a lead, they just gave us their information, go find more people like it. And then same for schedule. So it's like, hey, this person just scheduled, go find more people like them. Now to do that, go up to the top right-hand corner, click create workflow, start from scratch. And this is gonna be the workflow for lead. Add a new trigger. Now this trigger is gonna be however you're collecting contact information from someone. So in this instance, I'm gonna use Facebook lead form submitted, but if you're using a form on Gohighlevel or a website form or lead magnet form, whatever it is, however you're collecting their information, use this as the trigger. Gohighlevel. And then this is also super important here. Make sure the right form is selected. If you have multiple forms or you just leave it on any, it might not work. And then for the action event, we're gonna have Meta Conversions API. Now that you're in here, go to where it says access token and just paste in that token we just copied. Now, just for the flow of things, head back to Events Manager, scroll down to the bottom. You don't need to pay attention to any of this stuff. It's just explaining exactly what we've already set up. And click Finish at the bottom. Now we're gonna go up here to Settings and select the dataset ID. So copy that. Now we're heading back to Gohighlevel, paste the dataset ID in right here, and make sure the Facebook event name, again, like I said, this is the standard event. This is what Facebook actually recognizes. So make sure it says lead here because we're creating the lead workflow. Now head back over to Events Manager one more time, go to Overview and refresh the page. After you refresh the page, a Test Events tab should appear here. Click on that and then go to confirm your server events are set up correctly and copy this test code, head back to Gohighlevel, and paste the test code right here. Essentially what we're doing with this is when we go to test the workflow and we're manually sending like a fake contact through to make sure everything's set up correctly, Meta's not actually attributing it as a real event and it's not gonna optimize for it or anything. So this is essentially like putting a wall up saying, hey, this is not a real event, so don't actually send it to Meta, but it will still let us see that our workflows are working correctly. Great, so now that you have everything in here, you can go ahead and save action, click back to workflows, and then we're gonna copy this exact same workflow for the schedule event. So go here, click duplicate workflow, rename it schedule. Perfect, open that up. Now we're gonna wanna change the trigger to when someone books an appointment. So add new trigger. So this is gonna be when someone actually books an appointment with us. So go here to appointments and look for appointment status or customer booked appointment. Now, if you are using Gohighlevel's native calendar, use customer booked appointment. If you're using anything else, for example, say you're using Calendly, you're gonna wanna use the appointment status. I'm not sure why this is, but if you use the other one, it will not be able to find the event. So assuming you have your Calendly connected via Gohighlevel's native integration, you will be able to click event type, click any, click add filters, select in calendar, and then the Calendly calendar will show up here. I have another video going through that if you want to see exactly how to connect your Calendly calendar to Gohighlevel. And save trigger, delete this old one. Now go into Meta Conversions API. The access token and dataset ID will remain the same, but super important, make sure you change this Facebook standard event name to schedule and do not leave it as lead. Test code remains the same as well. Click save action and you're good to go ahead and publish this workflow. Sorry, I forgot to publish the other one as well, but I'll quickly go ahead and do that now. Great, so now I head back to Events Manager. Great, so now at this point, the Pixel and Conversions API is correctly set up. So what that means is when someone lands on any of the pages of your funnel, a Pixel ID event will be sent back to Meta. And then when someone either fills out a form or schedules a call directly with you, those are gonna be sent via Conversions API. So now if you want the Pixel to back up Conversions API with lead or schedule events, you can add code to the funnel pages, which will trigger the lead or schedule event on page view. So to do that, you would go into edit on your VSL page. So really make sure that any traffic that is coming to this page has already opted in for your service. So they've already given you their information and they are actually a lead. A lot of times what we see happen, someone would have this tracking code on a page, but if you don't get someone's information until after they click this button, your pixel is going to be telling Meta that a lead has just came through. Conversions API is not going to be telling Meta that a lead came through, and all the data is going to get conflicted and kind of defeats the whole purpose of setting them up separately. So really make sure that if you're adding tracking code onto your VSL page or your landing page or whatever it is, that they are actually a lead. Now you're gonna wanna write out this code here. I have it in this document. You're gonna write out this code here. I just copy and paste it from this document, which if you want this step-by-step conversions API document to share with your team or just for your own keeping so you can roll through it really quickly and efficiently in the future, you can click the link below and collect it there. So I copy this code and I paste this in here. Make sure there's an indent in front of that there. But this is essentially just using the pixel to tell Meta when a lead or a schedule has come through. Go ahead and save that there. Now, same idea for schedule. So after someone books in a call, whatever page they're brought to then, you would want to tell Meta and assist the pixel and assist conversions API that a schedule event happened. So for me, that would be my thank you page. After someone books a call, they're brought to a thank you page, and that's when I can tell Meta that a schedule happened. So once you're in your thank you page, you can just go here, and I'm going back to my conversions API document, copying this script and pasting it in here, making sure there's an indent before Facebook. And that's exactly how it would look there. Now, another thing I want to preface is sometimes the thank you page numbers can get inflated. If you have a client or someone on your team that's always clicking to the funnel and like opening up the pages, making sure they're working correctly, and you've removed test events from the workflows and conversions API, this is going to be skewing with Meta's data. So best practice, if you're new to conversions API setup, don't put the schedule tracking in the header tracking. Conversions API will do just as good as a job, and it's going to be way more accurate in tracking how many schedules actually come through. And I just want to show you one thing really quickly as well. If you go to your ads manager and you look for the number of leads that Meta's counting and the appointment schedules that Meta's counting, they're counting these numbers from Conversions API or directly if you're using Meta lead forms. So the most accurate way to actually get that information to Meta is through the whole setup we've done before. If you want to be able to see your appointment schedules and cost per appointment scheduled, Meta's going to be getting this information from either the header tracking or Conversions API sending it through. So if it's not showing up there, that is probably why. Same for lead if you're using like a non-Meta native lead form. So that's just something quick to know. Now we're going to want to make sure that our pixel events are firing correctly and also the conversions API events are firing correctly. So to do that, head back over to the events manager, and we've already done the test code, but go to confirm your website's events are set up correctly. But go to this tab here, and you're going to want to put your VSL URL here. Now for some reason, Meta does not like me using Safari, so I'm just going to switch over to Opera really quickly. Great, so go ahead and copy your VSL page domain and paste it right in here, and then click test events. Now a super cool tool you can use to make this process a lot more efficient is to download the extension Meta Pixel Helper. This will show you exactly which events are being passed on by the pixel. So in our instance here, you can see the page view, perfect, and then also the lead shows up as well. And then if you head back over to Events Manager, you'll see that those same events have been processed here, which is great. Now same idea for all the other pages that you have. So if I went over to the booking page and copied this in here, and open this up in the same domain. As you can see here on the right hand side, we don't have the code for lead here, so it's not going to show lead, but it will still show the page view because the pixel is tracking across the whole funnel. And then back in Events Manager here, it'll show another page view as well. Now, with that said, if you did have the schedule code set up on your thank you page, it will also show up here when you open the thank you page. But this confirms that our pixel events are firing, which is exactly what we want to see. So now to test that the Gohighlevel workflows are actually working as well. Now, because I'm using a Meta lead form, the easiest way for me to send a lead through is by going to developers.facebook.com and using Meta's native lead ads testing tool. So that page will look something like this. So just make sure you're on the correct page and you select the correct form and then click create lead. This will send a lead through to Gohighlevel, assuming you have your Facebook and the form connected in Gohighlevel. If you don't, it won't show up. Great, so now I'm gonna click back over to Gohighlevel, and in automations here, you'll see that the lead fired, which is great. That's exactly what we wanna see. That means that Meta has successfully sent back to Conversions API that we have retrieved a lead. Now you're going to want to do the exact same thing for schedule. The easiest way to do this is to go and schedule an event on whichever calendar that you have set up. So now I'm just going to go and actually book in a call. Great, so now that I scheduled the event, I'm going to go back to automation and the workflow should have fired here. So as we can see, both of these are now working. Now that you have successfully tested the pixel events as well as the Conversions API events, you're all good to go. You can now remove the test events from each of the workflows in Gohighlevel. Just delete this, save, head over to lead, do the same thing there. The one thing with this is sometimes I do it kind of unconventionally. There's definitely like a more straightforward and streamlined way to set all this up. But once you kind of get the reps and you do trial after trial, you'll find a workflow that works best for you. Now, one other thing I want to show you in the Ads Manager is when you're actually creating a new leads campaign, depending on which Conversions API event that you have data on is going to be the one you're going to want to start optimizing for first in the campaign. If you're creating a brand new ad account, brand new page, setting up Conversions API and the pixel all for the first time, on a new ad account and you have no previous data, if you're trying to optimize for a deep funnel event such as schedule or book to call, it's going to be very hard for Meta to accurately track those kinds of people because it has no previous information to kind of base its targeting off of. So I would highly recommend starting off with a leads campaign and optimizing for leads because the volume is easier to get. Some people argue that you need a 50 conversions event for Conversions API to actually take effect. Some people say it's 200, some people say it's 3 or 5 or whatever it is. But best practice, if you're starting off brand new, is to start off with just leads. And then as soon as you start getting booked calls and you can see that they're successfully going through Conversions API, that's when you could go and set up a new leads objective. Go over to the ad set, and at the conversions location, be able to click on just website. So you kind of remove the opt-in form and you're just optimizing for schedules, and then select the data set that you have just created. And then the conversion event would be schedule. Now it won't show green here, but if it doesn't show Conversions API as a checkmark, that's totally fine because you haven't actually gotten any events through it yet. But once you do, the checkmark will show up there, and also schedule will have a green dot next to it. So that's all for this video here. Thanks for taking the time to watch through and really understand what Conversions API is and how you actually can implement it and use it in your campaigns. If I missed anything, feel free to just comment below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And if you're looking for help with setting up Conversions API, general questions about high ticket lead gen, Meta, whatever it is, Gohighlevel, whatever it is, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, or you can book in a call with me or my team below.